Welcome to the Best Hour of Their Day podcast with your host, Jason Fernandez.
And me, Jason Ackerman. With more than 20 years in the business,
As both coaches and affiliate owners,
our passion is to help create world-class affiliates
and coaches by building
better boxes. Welcome to
the best hour of your day.
Welcome back. Best hour of their day. It's been a minute. We had some time off over the holidays. You guys have gotten some great episodes out there from our trip to Austin. We've got another great trip coming up in a couple of weeks, but
2 weeks, baby. 2 weeks.
I mean, you know, there's really not much to talk about in the whole CrossFit world, though.
Yeah,
Fern, you know,
news cycle's been slow.
Good thing we took off.
Yeah. Welcome to 2022, everybody. It's like a bad ride that you can't get off. You're like, I'm in the middle of this ride and I can't get off.
Well, you know, I think we need to talk about it. You know, I think one thing that we are very good at with Best Hour is staying in our lane. Our lane is coaching. Our lane is affiliate ownership. And of course, there's overlap when decisions are made by home office. But
right.
Let's dig in a little bit, you know, and I think maybe we can kick off by saying, like, you and I both are fans of Dave.
Yeah. I don't know what else we would say. Like he's part of our history. He's been part of our professional development. He's been part of our team and part of our culture. So yeah, I think it's safe to say.
I also want to say, I think he's going to be okay.
Dave's gonna be fine either way. I mean,
yeah.
I don't think that is the concern. Is like, oh my God, what's going to happen to Dave? Like Dave is a competent, resourceful human being. I think he will be just fine, whatever he decides to do.
He's going to have some sort of gun sponsorship. He
probably already does, to be honest with you. I mean, I'm sure he does. Like, I don't know, you know, he shoots a lot. I don't think he shoots a lot. Because.
But I mean, here's what I think. If I were him or Coach Glassman, here's what I would do. And if they're listening, feel free to take this. They should start a podcast together and go on a tour. They should write a book together. They should have shirts that say Glassman Castro 2024. Like, you know, whether or not you believe in that and support it, but this is their opportunity to like really go for it. Like full disclosure, I was texting with Dave and I was texting with Coach Glassman. And I think that's what they should do. Like, can you imagine the number of hits they would get on a podcast?
It'd be bonkers. I don't know if anybody could keep up with the conversation. The coach is hard to follow, but
well, he lost me when we had him on the show.
Yeah, one text and I'm like, you lost me, coach. I have no idea what you're talking about.
But I mean, especially this day and age, if you want to get some of the people like Rogan has on his podcast to talk about health and all that stuff, I mean, I would say, you're moving away from CrossFit and more so into what he was trying to do, which is, change healthcare and improve all that. This is a great avenue. And who knows, maybe he's working on it or maybe there's an NDA behind the scenes, but I think that's a great idea for them.
I mean, here, as I think is probably the more important topic, whatever's going to happen and whatever's going to unfold is going to unfold. And what I'm really hoping is that people take a second to have potentially learned a lesson from the fallout that got us here where we're at today, with coach, and not be so quick to react. Just withhold judgment because you don't have enough information and nobody's asking for your judgment anyway.
Well,
that's kind of like the overarching theme is like, if you have something to concern or if you have a concern to voice, and it's only done via the public sphere, then I think that falls in the category of what we've referred to many, many times as that's for you. That's so that you get some sort of reaction, so that you look a certain way. If you're really concerned, you would do the professional thing and you would run that through the proper chain and nobody would ever know about it except the person who needs to know.
Yeah. And the people that are doing it well, I think, are the people that are just posting pictures of themselves with Dave, like just giving some love to Dave and being like, hey, we support you. You've been an integral part in our growth, in the growth of this community and the company. We support you. Now, like you just said, outside of that, you should probably just, keep your opinions to yourself. You and I 2 years ago were two of the only people that were saying that when it came to Coach Glassman. And we weren't defending Coach Glassman, but we also weren't criticizing him. We were just saying, hey, chill a minute and let's see what's going on. And the same thing should be said here. And, I did put that post up yesterday where, depending on when you're listening to this a couple of days ago, you were all the people that wanted to cancel Glassman. And, that was for me. And I'm not necessarily taking a stance one way or the other, but I'm just suggesting, like, because you were so reactive then, like, don't think that how you acted then isn't impacting what's happening a year and a half, 2 years later.
Yeah, I think it's a culture thing, which is this weird scenario. It's like the old cliche, what goes around comes around, whether you like it or not. That hammer come back and hit you at some point, whether you're expecting it or not. And it may be 5 minutes and it may be 5 years or maybe 5 decades, who knows? But ultimately, I listen, I think there's a place for saying that you disagree with something. I don't necessarily think you have to sit around and just hold that in. What I do think is inappropriate is anything that's malicious or anything that is really over the top hurtful. Memes are funny. Let's just get that out of the way. Just in general, they're funny. There have been some funny memes about it.
They're like comedians. They come from a place of humor. So we understand not to take it too seriously.
And really funny humor is dark humor. Like it just is, but I do think that outside of that, maybe just be like, hey, I disagree with this. The reality is, like, none of us have enough information to really have a legitimate stance either way. It would purely be emotional. You and I, our stance on it is purely emotional, but I would still at the same point recognize that, like, I don't know anything. I know as much as anybody listening to this podcast.
And for the record, we were on a phone call, with people that know more, and we still don't know a whole lot. And I think, I think one of the things that needs to be said is, you and I chatted after, and we disagreed a little bit, where my attitude is often like, this is a business. And I think no different than coaches at an affiliate, like they're like, oh, we should change the programming. We should open up a Sunday afternoon class. Like we need a worm, all those things are great in theory. Let the affiliate owner, let the, man in the arena, if you will, make these decisions. And I think there's some of that needs to be said when it comes to CrossFit. I think because we care so much about this and the people that are impacted by this really care about Dave and the community, I believe it's misguided to think you are owed an explanation.
Well, I don't disagree with you there. Like nobody owes you or I anything. Nobody owes affiliate owners anything. And this was the post that I made yesterday, which is you shouldn't feel the need to respond, number one. And number two, I would go back to the same thing that I said in the original. We should name these two events like 1 and 2, but your members don't know and don't care.
Yeah, I would say, who do you
Nobody
think?
walked into my affiliate today and was just like, things going to be all right. You're going to make it.
Yeah. I mean, the only people that reached out to you and me directly are pretty much people on seminar staff or the box owners that we,
a handful of box owners. And if somebody DM'd, I don't know if I've had a lot of DMs and text messages the last couple of days, but the question was like, I'd like to get your opinion on whether I should try to affiliate. I'm like, number one, this has nothing to do with you affiliating as it stands right now, but nothing. It shouldn't affect your decision to affiliate. It shouldn't factor in at all. You either want to affiliate and be part of a CrossFit community or you don't. And again, you don't have enough information. And if we were really going to zoom out, people still need to get healthy and fit.
This doesn't change that.
This doesn't change anything, actually. Like it's just a distraction. It's just something that's going to cause you to spend time and resources not on your community, not communicating. And, for any box owner out there that's been knee deep in this whole thing, I want you to try to measure how many hours that you've been searching through social media or doing any of that stuff. Admittedly, I do have hours of that in there, but I was required to be engaged in conversations about it as part of my job. right? But outside of that, that's 4 or however many hours or 30 minutes wasted, not on your member base.
There's no way people are only putting 30 minutes on that.
Yeah. But
hours.
How much better could that have, like, could you have followed up with a lead? Could you have checked in on a staff member? Could you have done a coach eval? Could you have done a revamp on your annual calendar? Could you have written an email like you said and reached out to old members to have them come back, who I guarantee don't know what just happened?
Which of the incidents, being Glassman and Castro, do you think did have a more direct impact on affiliates?
I think that remains to be seen. I don't know that we know.
Okay,
like I said, we don't know. We don't know. I mean, how many days are we removed from this one? 2,
like
3?
2, 3, yeah.
2.5. Yeah, 2.5. Yeah, I mean, if we think about, I don't remember what the timetable was in the original one, but it was like 30 days, roughly. And I don't know. We just don't know. So again, I really tried to reserve anything that would resemble a major decision without getting as much information as possible. Anytime I've done the opposite of that, it hasn't worked out well for me. So that's what I think people should do. Now is the wait and see time. Just wait, just sit back, shut up. By the way, you don't need to go searching for the information. When it comes out, you'll know.
Oh yeah. I mean, I woke up the other day to all these texts, messages from you. And I was like, I had no idea, and this was actually happening before going to bed. I just, wasn't on my phone or computer. So,
oh yeah, I found out the next day. I was just like, what?
Yeah. I was like, I guess I got to figure out what's going on. But, I also think just, this business is moving forward and I'm not defending the decision, but there are going to be decisions made that don't please everybody. It's multi-million-dollar business. One day we may see a CrossFit IPO, a publicly traded stock, and that changes things.
I think, again, you can have two thoughts at the same time. So one of which could be the very objective, this is a business. Anybody who didn't think there were going to be significant changes in the company, that's foolish. All right. So you can not be shocked and simultaneously hold the opposite opinion of, okay, I get that, but I don't necessarily maybe think this might be the one, right? And you could hold those two thoughts simultaneously. Like, that's a real thing. This is also a real thing. And they may or may not be in conflict. And the whole point of that is, I think we should all use that as an exercise to take a breath and just say, does this really affect me? And the short answer is no, it doesn't. It may. To what extent, we have no idea, nor do we know if it is positive or negative. It just has a feeling to it now that a lot of people are voicing. And that's fine. But for the love of God, please do not make a decision on anything based on what you know right now, because you know jack shit.
Plus, you just wind up looking foolish to your members if you're a box owner, right? I mean, how many boxes de-affiliated only to re-affiliate? Had they just hung tight, I mean, that's a mixed signal, a mixed message to your members.
Well, we're quite literally at a point where the amount of information that we have is the equivalent of a coin toss, meaning the outcome of this could be bad, or the outcome of this could be really good. And both of those scenarios have multiple iterations of what it would look like to get to either one of those endpoints. We don't know. It's just like, to which my point is like, you don't know. There's nothing that you can do about it, with the exception of the professional thing to do would be like, send whatever your, grievance or concern or input or feedback or whatever you want to say, send it up and then move on with your day. But if you're going to send it up, here is my real recommendation. Do not just send an email that says, I think this was good, or I think this was bad. Like, you should probably give some actual actionable feedback on what you think the implications of that, good or bad, are going to be. Like, hey, here's my feedback based on this. I thought this was really great. This is the same thing we ask for at the end of seminars. Listen, we're give some feedback, but give an alternative idea with said feedback, if it does so happen to be negative. Don't just say, hey, that was a shit course. Be like, what would have made it better?
It's the idea of drunken monkeys, right? We're not just bringing problems. And I think this is something that while we're speaking specifically on one subject and one person, for affiliate owners and coaches and just anybody in everyday life, this has to be how they live their life.
This is an external example of things that box owners deal with every day is actually the real lesson that I hope people take away from this is like, you will get many things that are, I have an email in my inbox right now that's mildly annoying. I'm not even going to give the context for what the email is.
From me?
Well, that's every day. I've become numb to those.
Let's be honest. You've got 13,000 emails. So
that's actually not true. So most of those have been read, but when I transferred from that to Outlook, it just fucked everything up in there. So there's a ton of stuff in there, but I don't have anything in the last year that's not read. But anyway, the joke here is that Katie was looking at my inbox the other day and she had a panic attack. She's like, "You have 13,000 unread emails in there." I'm like, "No, I don't," but it's fine. I get why you would say that. But where I was going with that is it wasn't something that needed a response immediately. And I would be 100% transparent in saying that had I responded immediately, it would have not been the response that I would be happy with a month from now.
I've gotten so much better over the years at taking a breath and not responding, or responding and not sending, just to make you feel better. But that was probably one of my biggest downfalls and mistakes as a box owner, was just being reactive. And, go back and listen to the interview with Kevin Houston that we just put up. Like, a lot of just being reactive, yelling at people, not listening, not taking a breath and trying to see it from their perspective. And, I think that's important in life. Obviously, the greater the impact on your day-to-day life, which, by the way, this Dave Castro thing does not impact your day-to-day life.
No, I mean, unless you are Dave, obviously, and then, or worked directly in that ecosystem, then it might have some impact on you. But outside of that, the reality is probably not. Again, based on what we currently know, that all could change, at which point we'll both change our opinions. And I reserve the right to change my opinion as I get more information, at which I would change my opinion. But as of right now, no. And I don't know about you. In my life, one of the good things about being in the military is you get a really diverse, large data set of leadership, good and bad. And what I will tell you about the good, the inverse is true of the bad. And what I mean by that is, everybody's probably heard the saying, which is be the duck, which is, in leadership, your job is to be cool and not freak the fuck out. And the duck analogy is like, you see a duck swimming across the water and you're like, man, look at that thing just swimming across the water, just like smooth, like little ripples in the water. But if you were to get an underwater shot of the duck, their feet are pedaling at a million miles an hour. And that's a skill set that's honed. That's not something that most people are just born with. Like, you have to be doused with stress and learn to react to stress, or learn not to react to stress, or learn how to react appropriately to stress. And one of the things that and this is a great example of where I think we'll use David as an example, because a lot of people have posted stories like this, is that there's no shortage of stories where Dave has kind of like lit somebody up. You and I both have personal stories where like Dave was unhappy with something that we had done. But I would argue that to a person, Dave had the awareness to circle back to make sure that that person understood, listen, that was in the moment because that needed to happen, but we're good.
Oh yeah, we've told this story about me with him on the competition floor, losing his mind. This had to be, it was definitely in Carson. There was deficit handstand push-ups, and I want to say it was the final workout of the weekend. So I'm sure somebody can find that out. But I was in charge of the competition floor. They wanted, how like when you play high school soccer or sports, they have those flip thing. Even like your wrestling matches will have them. Your flip counter.
Yeah, like they do for the weights and when they do heavy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But this is before they were like nice. You know, they were literally like
the ones, just a notebook.
You know, it was like literally the ones that your high school was buying. Like now Rogue probably makes them.
Right.
But anyway, they didn't make it out for the first heat. And Dave lost it on me. I say lost it. He was just like stern. And I responded, I was like, okay, I'll put him out next heat. I put them out next heat. Have I told this story before?
I want at least half the times. Yeah.
They get out on the next heat and they were just obtrusive, like cumbersome in the way. And Dave's like, Kerman, get those damn things off the floor. Dude. And I was like, okay, Dave.
Yeah,
and
then, the number of times the whole crew's been yelled at to do something and then immediately reverse that decision because he didn't like it anymore. I was just like, just quit counting. I'm just like, just yell at me and I'll move in which direction you're yelling.
Yeah, but the point was the next morning, you know, I had an email saying thanks for, you know, dealing with my stress, or I could probably dig it up, you know, allowing me to yell at you. Like, and also something you said that's true too, is he also is aware of who he's talking to.
Correct.
Right. You know, I wasn't a volunteer in that role, meaning I was getting paid.
Right.
There's a very different position.
Like you're in charge. Don't fuck it up.
I was literally in charge of that. Now, if one of my volunteers had messed something up, he wouldn't have said a word to them. He would have yelled at me.
Correct.
You know, and that's important. You know, they're volunteering. They're giving up their week. They're you know, not getting paid at work. Whatever is going on. He treats those. I mean, there's a reason every year there's a volunteer dinner, and they want us to be there. You know, so anyone that thinks otherwise, Dave could read a room and knew who he was talking to.
100%. I think he was always aware of that. And I think he was always acutely aware of when he had maybe gone a little too hard, even though it might have been warranted, and would circle back with that. Like one time we were in the poop shoot at the Home Depot Center, and he comes screaming down the and that hallway's tight. Like two people maybe could stand side by side in there.
Very, yeah.
And and there had been a judging snafu. Nothing crazy, but it was noticeable. I'm not going to say what year because it doesn't matter. And it wasn't me.
Well, it was in California. We were in the shoot.
It was in California. Yeah. Now, the snafu was not me, but Dave thought it was me.
Oh, I do. For the record, you've told this story.
It wasn't me. And
you're pulling an Ackerman. You're pulling an Ackerman.
This may or may not have been somebody whose name rhymed with Fanny Dorbus, but But afterwards, Dave came and he's like, I didn't realize that wasn't you. I was like, no worries. But like he came and he was just like, fucking watch yourself. And I was just like, I don't even know what you're talking about, but I will definitely watch myself. I was like, I will start watching myself, and I will correct whatever I'm unaware of that needs to be corrected.
But he's also incredibly under a lot of stress that week. Yeah.
And the reason I think people get it is because they understand where it's coming from. They understand that the reaction to that is because there's a massive thing going on, and there's a standard to which he's trying to roll this out. And the standard is perfect. And he knows it's not going to be perfect, by the way. He's fully aware. Well, but we're going to get as close as humanly possible to perfect, and it's going to look perfect on the outside. And as long as everybody just does their part, it's just like, you know, Boz is like, be ready to flex, dude. Like there's going to be a good idea that comes out, and then it's going to change immediately. So just don't worry about it. It's not your problem.
Well, think about any sporting event. Like I watch almost every UFC event. You watch, you know, football, baseball, basketball. Do you not think there's a Dave Castro there yelling at people? Like, of course there is. Like those events are live. They're on TV, just like the games are. They have a billion moving parts. You know, the games, I would honestly go as far as saying has more moving parts. Like there's one fight happening at a time, 5 on a show. You know, you have 5 heats in an hour sometimes at the games. And then, you know, now you have the women coming out. Now you have the masters, the teens, the teams. So there's and not to mention, maybe to a fault, there's volunteers. Like not everyone is getting paid there. So you have, you're relying on the work of volunteers to make this event run smoothly.
Yeah. It's just one of those things where, I mean, anybody who's had a coach of any sort has been yelled at. You okay there, buddy? You gonna make it?
I'm good. For the record,
Jay's not feeling good. Yeah,
something's going around this house.
Yeah, can you get that virtually? Are you gonna give that to me right now? Whatever that is.
I'm trying to. Yeah, I'm gonna spread it through this. We've got the best mics in the business. They should do it. Yeah, for anybody wondering why I'm drinking Coke.
Yeah, Jay's giving up.
Fern drinks Coke on the regular. Me, this is probably my first Coke in like 3
I actually don't, but I wouldn't turn one down if you gave it to me. But
you
the
gotta
point
go.
is
Vanilla's
like,
great. I love vanilla.
oh, that's disgusting. But the whole point was just like anybody who's ever played a sport is been yelled at. Like my dad was harder on me than anybody. I mean, he would just let loose. People, it would be uncomfortable sometimes. But I knew where he was coming from. And I knew, and here's the deal. When you get it from somebody who like that, from Dave or somebody like that, and this is kind of the difference. And this is what I think a lot of people don't recognize about Dave with regard to good leadership. It's warranted. It wasn't for no reason. Like there was the interaction wasn't random. It wasn't because that person was trying to be a dick. It's because something went wrong. Whether it was your fault or not, you might have just been the closest person there to be on the receiving end of this, the FUBAR conversation. So it's one of those things you're like, okay, I get it. But the point is it needs to be fixed, and it needs to be fixed in a hurry, because that's the standard, and everybody knows. And people, there's been a lot of posts about it, is like a lot of what seminar staff is with regard to the professionalism and the efficiency and the level that is expected for people to perform stems from Dave.
Oh, big time. I mean, the culture is certainly, there's a very military vibe to it as far as, what the internship process looks like, about how you grow on staff, how you move up the ranks. But I think even what you're suggesting about whether it's Dave or your coach or your father yelling at you, it's all about kind of taking that pause between that moment and the reaction.
Yeah. And it's, and just being aware, what's the scenario here? Am I being yelled at because he doesn't like me, or am I being yelled at because I am in the machine that has a million moving parts, and the ramifications of this going wrong might be well past what I understand is happening? Meaning, yeah. I might not know that my small piece has 87 other pieces attached to it that will also be screwed up if I don't correct this right now. Right. So a lot of it is pure ignorance by design, I would add, in many instances. It's the old, like, you're on the need to know basis and you don't need to know. Right. Right now, your job is to do your job and don't worry about anything else, because right now that is the purpose you serve and the function that you hold. Just do your job. We could talk about it later, but right now we don't need to discuss anything. What needs to happen is do your job. And it's just like, hey, we can talk about it later. And again, same thing in the affiliates. Thinking about the number of times you've overreacted or reacted too quickly, or just out of pure emotion, probably is not the best version of you.
Well, and I think that's part of the day and age we're living in. Everybody wants to be involved in everything. Where you're absolutely right. Whether it's what's going on at the CrossFit Games or what just happened this week, you don't need to know. All you need to do is show up, turn the lights on at your box, and coach some great classes.
And be the duck. That's what people want. That's what your members want. They want the duck.
They don't want.
So be the duck. Be the person who walks in and is happy all the time, regardless if the building's burning down. You're like, this is a great, or like, things are going to be fine, everybody. Like, we're going to be just okay. Because when shit goes bad, and when shit goes really bad, people start looking around and they're like, who is going to get us out of this? And if you're freaking out, they're going to freak out. So just understand, your job as an affiliate owner, whether you like it or not, is to be a leader of a community. And your job is not to react prematurely. Sometimes your job is not to react at all, and just move forward with the thing that is going on, and understand that there's things outside of my ecosystem that I have no control over and don't actually have any impact on what I'm doing on a day-to-day basis. So your job in that instance is be the duck. Don't worry about it. You have other things that are more pressing and more important to you and the people that are in your care, both your team and your clients. So don't react. Just move on. You will know when it's time to react. When that thing comes down the chute and you're like, this is now in my ecosystem, it has like a literal direct impact on what it is that I'm doing. Now I can make a decision. But at that point, you'll probably have enough pieces of information to make a decision that makes sense, and communicate it with some degree of competency. Thanks for checking out this episode of the Best Hour of Their Day podcast. We appreciate you listening and choosing to have us help you in your passion for coaching and affiliate ownership. You can find more episodes just like this on all podcast platforms. If If you're interested in learning more, you can reach out to us on any social media platforms, or you can visit www.besthouroftheirday.com to book a call. If you found this episode helpful for you, please share it so that we can help other coaches and affiliate owners to help build a bigger and stronger CrossFit community. Thanks for listening.